Lockdown by Walter Dean Myers. Chapter 2, page 10. When I got back from Evergreen, Mr. Cintron asked me how I liked it, and I said I thought it was okay. Just okay? He asked. They treated me okay, I said. I wasn't locked in my room or nothing, so I guess it was okay. Well, that's your choice, Reese, he said. You can spend the rest of your life in some kind of institution like this, or you can be out there in the world. And what you got to keep in your head, what you got to focus on, is that okay is a lot better than being in a place like this. That was all good and everything, and I knew he was right, but I didn't know what was going down with me. Mr. Cintron talked about it like it was something easy. You go this way or you go that way. Maybe for him it was easy. He was cool though. He was tall, about 30-something, or maybe even 40. He looked Spanish, but he sounded pure white. He was the only one at Progress who I believed most of the time. There were only 12 of us in Section A, and in the morning Mr. Pugh marched us to breakfast. When Mr. Wilson marched us to breakfast, we could have our hands down by our sides. But when Mr. Pugh took us anywhere, we had to have our hands behind our backs with our wrists crossed, like we were handcuffed, even though we weren't. The breakfast was the same old stuff. Scrambled eggs, oatmeal, juice, and bologna. It was okay. I liked it when the bologna was burned sometimes. When I was home and Icy made breakfast, she burned everything. She liked to see the food cooking. It was burned, but I didn't mind. The word was that something was going to happen after dinner. When we finished breakfast, he took the trays to the window for the dishwashers. I asked Play what was happening. Diego wants to jump Toon into the 357s, Play said. Toon? I asked. He ain't nothing but 12. And what's he gonna do in the 357s? Play said. Shut up! Mr. Pugh hollered from across the room. We lined up and went back to our quarters. I checked everything real quick because I didn't want any trouble. The floor was swept, the bed made, and the sink clean. I knew that as long as everything went down correct, I would stay on level 1 and in the early release program. If I started getting demerits and fell into level 3 or 4, then I wouldn't have any privileges, and I would have a harder time getting out early. 8 o'clock and we went to school. Me, Leon, Diego, and this white girl named Kat were in the same class. They said she'd cut up a guy who was trying to mess with her and drink a soda while the guy was lying on the floor bleeding. Play was 15 and a nice guy, but he was facing juvie life for shooting a guy. His lawyer was still working on his case. Diego was 15 and was doing a year for breaking and entering. Leon was 14 and was in for shoplifting and punching a security guard. Toon was in because he wouldn't go to school or listen to nobody. He said his parents had been accountants in Mumbai before they came to the States. His real name was Deepak, but he didn't look like a regular kid. He had this round face and big glasses like a cartoon character. So we all called him Toon. He liked that. But jumping him into the 357 was just stupid. The 357 was a prison gang, and I couldn't see Toon being in no gang. I knew if they tried to jump him in, he would just fall and get beat up. We did school, which was bull because we weren't learning anything. Play was too messed around with his case to even think about what was going on in the Revolutionary War, and nobody else really cared. I listened because I just wanted to do better than the others. That's how bad I wanted out in the world. Mr. Wilson had us for lunch, and we knew we could talk if we weren't too loud. I asked Diego why he wanted to jump Toon into the 357. "Why do you want to know?" Diego came back. "I just asked you a question, fool," I said. "If I kick your ass, will I still be a fool?" Diego looked at me across the table. "Don't be calling me no fool." "If I stab you about 45 times, can I call you a fool?" I asked him. He sucked his teeth and looked away. "I think he wants to jump in Toon because Toon's the only one in our section he can't beat," Play said. We all cracked on that, but I thought it was true. Diego kept on talking about being in the 357 crew, but I didn't believe him. They didn't do the light stuff he was always talking about. He was about my height, but he had a mustache that made him look older. I knew what was going down with him, though. Mr. Pugh said that a guy from the 357 was scheduled to come to Progress Center. Diego knew the kid, and the way he was talking about him, it was like he was scared of him or something. So I figured he was going to try to punk somebody out to make his reputation. I hoped he didn't mess with Toon, because I liked the little guy. I couldn't stand up for him and risk getting disciplined, though. I can do some business with my hands if I got to. Willis, my brother, used to do some boxing, and we used to spar around in the gym. Then he got shot and didn't have any more interest in fighting. I didn't like to fight in a ring or anything like that. It just didn't appeal to me. But when my father started hitting me all the time, I was glad I knew a little something. At least how to cover up so you won't get your face all messed up. Luther, that's my father's name, is the kind of dude who gets to drinking and telling himself he's doing you a favor by beating you up. That's why I hate him so much. You ain't supposed to be beating up your kids, even if you are half drunk. After lunch we had school from 12:15 to 2:15, which was more of the same. Some of the kids are smart, but they be having other things on their mind. Toon acted like he wanted to go to school, but I don't know why he didn't go to school when he was out in the world. But I know this, he had a reason. We had group 2:30 to 4:30, and they brought in a black guy who told us we could be something special if we tried. Same old, same old. He said he used to be a drug dealer. Play asked him what kind of watch he was wearing, and as soon as he had to look down at it, we knew he didn't have anything going on. After group, we went back to our section, and the guy who was supposed to be in the 357 was there. Diego called him Kobo. He was wearing a gray jumpsuit instead of an orange one, which meant he wasn't going to be at Progress very long. You could see Diego sucking up to the new guy, and the new guy strutting around like he was bad. You've got 5 days, maybe 4, to be here before you go upstate to the replacement center, Pew said to Kobo. You'd better behave yourself every minute of every day. You listening to me? You listening to me? Kobo tried to play it off, but we all knew about the replacement center. It was for young guys on their way to adult prisons. Dudes got shanked up there all the time. After dinner, which was creamed corn, corned beef hash, rice, and lemonade, we had recreation and personal time. Mr. Cintron came over and said he got a letter for me. But the name of the writer wasn't on the list of people I could receive mail from. You don't have much of a list anyway, he said. All I got down was my mom's, I said. I had my friend Kenneth down, but they made me take him off. I had my brother Willis down, but they made me take him off because he was in here before and he ran with the Convent Avenue posse. That's all I got. You know, somebody who spells their name I-S-I-S? Mr. Cintron asked. Yo, man, that's Icy. Oh, man. I had to turn away because just mentioning her made me want to cry. Mr. Cintron looked at me and told me to get up and follow him. I didn't want anybody to see me crying because they might think I was weak or something. I went to the office with Mr. Cintron and he told me to sit down. Who's this person? He asked again. Her real name is Isis, but we call her Icy, I said. When she was born, my mom was just getting out of rehab and was doing a lot of reading on black stuff. You know, in Egypt and Africa and stuff like that. And she named my sister Isis. She's 9 and she's my heart, really. You know, Mr. Cintron, I really didn't think about her writing to me. But that's the kind of girl she is. Man, she's real good people. You want me to add her name to your list? Yeah, I do. So what's her last name? Anderson. We all got the same last name. Okay. She's officially on your list. I can put the others back on too. Here's the letter from her. I put the letter in my pocket so I could read it later. End chapter 2.